Okay, everyone, welcome to our power lunch. I am so excited that you have joined us. And I feel like with the holiday weekend, like this is our launch to our 60th year month of September. And I was thinking if we're at the 6th, so it's 7 days if you count today until Mary Kay launched this business. So
Wow.
think of that 7 days from now, 60 years ago, the doors had not opened, but the dream had been planted and she had believed in it enough to protect it when at this point her husband had died, right, at the kitchen table. So she was a new widow. She had an accounting and attorney tell her not to do it. It's your last $5,000 in your life. You're going to be, working the rest of your life, at your age. And she went through with it anyways. Her 9 friends probably knew. They probably already knew. Like Daleen White was probably already a conversation. Like, you're just going to help me out, just till we get launched. And Daleen White said, I will help you out. But after that, I'm done. Like, I'm only doing this to help you launch. And, that's our lineage. And Nancy, I'll have you share your lineage too. But, guys, think about that. Like, you have dreams that God's planted in your heart. And life is going to happen as it did to Mary Kay. Her kids were supportive because they had seen her be gritty and perseverant prior. So maybe this is your opportunity to showcase that for people who are following you or to continue that. But then she had her son, Richard. All the kids said, we'll help. And he gives her savings book. And as what was he, 18 or 19, said, I'll quit my job, I'll help you.
I think he was 21 because he had taken a position with an insurance company. He was the youngest person to be an insurance salesman, whatever, in this company.
Wow. So he left that job to
Right.
go with his mom. And I think it's so fun. All of you now know his son, Ryan, who stepped into the CEO role, which I'm so excited for you guys to get Nancy's perspective, because when I was looking through her accolades, you guys, we've talked a lot about Craig Rochelle did a podcast, Nancy, that he talked about 3 generational mindsets. So it's not age, your physical age, it's time in the company or business or mission or church or family. And so there's owners Mary Kay was the owners, and then you came in real close after. So in this 1970, the company was only 8 years old. So you were like owner slash protector. The protectors learned from the owners. And then the third generation is the inheritors. And if I'm not going to take up Nancy's time, but this is posted probably a week ago on my Facebook fan page, and I'll share it again in our Voxer groups, because this is an imperative for people in Mary Kay to get their head around, because the inheritor mindset is you've come in with all these resources. At the touch of a button, you can listen to an Emeriti National and a national sales director. Even in my generation, we had to drive or fly and only saw nationals maybe once or twice a year. That was it. There was no phone calls in between, no Voxer groups, no Zooms, no highlight reels on Facebook. And so you have everything at Mary Kay in Touch, my website, all your director's resources at the touch of a button. You're inheritors, but inheritors can be become very entitled. Like, this is how it always was. And Craig Rochelle said that any organization or family or church is only going to survive if those inheritors are taught to have an owner's mindset, the ones that built and are willing to build it. And in Mary Kay, we're desperate for that now. We have so many nationals like Nancy who knew Mary Kay. I'm at the tail end of that. So I'm probably the youngest. I'll retire in 4.5 years. Prior to me, almost everyone else that knew Mary Kay is retired. I went to her home. They're all retired. So in 4.5 years, 5 years, we're going to be at a place where we need those bricks replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And a brick gets replaced for a national with 20 directors. If you don't want to be a national, be a director and find a national. If you don't want to be a director, be a free car driver, or you can recruit people and you don't have to be any leadership position. You could have 30 people on your team and get fantastic recruiting checks from Mary Kay, and your director's going to take care of them. I want us to be an area that models. You don't just recruit and share this opportunity when you want a position. It's not because you want to get in your red jacket, be at the next red jacket, earn your car, be in DIQ. You're sharing the opportunity because that's what Mary Kay asked us to do. This business is sharing the product and the opportunity at the same time. So let me grab Nancy's, but I want you to listen as Nancy's sharing her story, her experiences with Mary Kay, whatever she wants. I mean, I give an Emeriti free reign. I know Nancy. I traveled with her on top directors trips. My husband and her husband have a bromance for sure. Spent our lunch at seminar in the Snsde lounge with her, just laughing so hard and having a great time. When I was in Georgia, Nancy was in Georgia, and her director, Ruth, when I was a top director in Georgia, she always beat me every single time. I could not beat Ruth Theodotion if my life depended on it in production. That woman was an amazing machine. But I want you guys to listen to how an owner. So Nancy owns this mission. Mary Kay intended for the people that the baton was passed to, that they had an ownership mindset. And so she's not here to give you a bunch of how-tos, although she may. But she's here because I want you to hear how she thinks. She was trained to think and do by Mary Kay Ash, the pioneers, and she started 7 years after this company started. So Nancy, I gave you guys some of her accolades, but I want to read rest of them. She joined in 1970. She became a director in 74, a DIQ May 1st, and had her third son May 4th. Okay. So when people are like, oh, it's not the right time to be in DIQ, it's not the right time to start my Mary Kay business, you'll always catch this with top people's accolades. They did it through life. So her third son, that means there was 2 other babies there, her third son on May 4th, DIQ May 1st. So then she had a new baby. His wife, the third son, is Michelle, who's a Cadillac sales director now. And Michelle's been my personal shopper behind your back, Nancy. So she's got a gift as a thank you for being here with us today. I knew she'd know what you like. 10 top trips, 10 unit club 7 times, top 10 unit 7 times. And when you went on the trips, was it just the top 10 in the nation? Like I remember, it was at Cadillacs, was just top 10.
Just Cadillacs.
Okay. Cadillacs. That's crazy. Number 2 at Emerald Seminar. So you must have been an Emerald before we got moved back there.
Before Pearl.
Okay. Annual Miss Go Give in 91, presented by Mary Kay herself. Earned her first pink Cadillac at 84 after having her 4th son, and has never been out of the pink Cadillac since then. Snsde in 97. And senior national by debuting Ruth Theodotion, her typing and shorthand teacher in high school. They even do typing in shorthand. I'm so glad I took typing. That's how I know how to use the computer. Highest check was over 30,000. Highest area sales, 9.8 million in retail sales in a year. Developed offspring directors in Brazil, helped train in Sweden and UK. 18 national trips all over the world as a senior national, retired January of 14 with a family security package of $1.6 million, along with her pink Escalade. When people say, are you still doing Mary Kay? I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to keep doing it. 1.6 million for a retirement package and her pink Escalade, married to Bill in March, 57 years, 4 sons and daughter-in-laws, 4 grandsons, 3 granddaughters, and 1 great-granddaughter. And Nancy says, I give all my credit for my success to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So Nancy, thank you for being with us. You guys, if you have questions or comments, like pop them in the chat because I can read those, and then we'll have a little interactive time that Nancy can answer. But Nancy, I turn this over to you. Thank you for your time. She said she just got off the tennis court. Like that just like rubs it in. Like I wasn't on the tennis court before this, Nancy. So Ameritai is a little bit different schedule. So you're making it look wonderful with that $1.6 million.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dawn. I'm fired up already just listening to you. You are amazing, and of course, you have helped to build this company, and you've based it on God's principles, just like Mary Kay would have you do. And you've touched so many lives, and it was pretty obvious since you were on the stage as everybody's adopted national at seminar. And I know that you are definitely a promoter of the Go Give spirit and helping other people succeed, whether it puts any money in your pocket or not. So Mary Kay, I know, was already proud of you, but she would be even prouder today to see what all you've done and the legacy that you have created, and that praise the Lord will continue on. So I am going to have a little shout out to any of my directors and consultants that might be on. I hope there are a few. I'm very privileged to get to do this. It's like after you've had all of this experience for 40 something years, you feel like, gosh, I have so many things I could share, but then nobody asks you because they're pretty much always looking to the latest and greatest. And there's some value in looking at the latest and greatest, but there's also some value to listening to people who were there at pretty much the beginning, like you said, started in 1963 and I started in 1970. At that point, they gave away, there were the top 10 directors got the pink Cadillacs. There were no other cars. When you had 5 team members, you got a ribbon. You didn't go on target for a car. $300 weeks were good back then, selling the basic for $47.50. And it's so funny because people think a $300 week now is good when they really should be having $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 weeks with products over $200, sets to sell over $200. And of course, our product line was very limited, but we were the only company that was promoting skin care. Every commercial you saw was about mascara or lipstick, and we were promoting skincare. I think even if you brought that product out today, people would see huge benefits in their skin if they brought even the original formulas out. And of course, we were operating under some you would think handicaps today, looking at what all we have, but we sold everybody the same formula for years, the basic skincare. And it really was designed for dry skin. So evidently everybody back then had dry skin because somehow it worked. And we had a little palette of 5 lipsticks, 5 eyeshadows, a blush rouge, an eyebrow pencil, and a mascara and a liner, a liquid, cake eyeliner, and a lotion, a couple of men's products, and a fragrance. And that was it. And so if we sold somebody every single thing we had, it wouldn't be much over $200. So we didn't know we were handicapped. And we really were the innovators who came up with the product samples. We scraped off eyeshadows and put them in the little plastic tubes that the mascaras came in. And that gave us a little eyeshadow powder holder to, put eyeshadow in the palettes. We just really were innovators, and we didn't have the internet to share ideas. And like you said, when we wanted to learn, we went to a company sponsored event or we went to a sales meeting. And so when I was introduced to Mary Kay, I was working in a salon, and I had been using Merle Norman products since I was probably 15. And Jerry Farmer, who was a customer of mine at that time, who was my husband's high school coach's wife from Therrell High School. I went to a different school. She was a hair customer, and she was and is a beautiful lady and someone that everybody admired. And she came in and she started telling me about a new skincare product that she was using called Mary Kay. And she said, I really would like to get your opinion on it. And she said, you could invite your mom and your sister. You know, she started giving me suggestions of who I could invite. So basically, she showed me how to put a Mary Kay party together. And she also said, if you have enough sales, you could get your basic skincare for free. Well, that resonated with me because at that time I was working in the beauty salon. Our first son was 2 years old. Bill had just gotten out of the Army after being drafted during the Vietnam War. I'd had to move in with my parents. We'd had to sell our house. We sold one of our cars. We had one car. He was going to school at night, working a full-time job during the day, and refereeing ball games on the weekends. So I did good to get a ride to work. So, and sometimes I didn't know who was even picking me up from work. So anyway, when she shared the product, and all of my guests at the party loved it, and they all bought it, and I got mine free. And then she sat there and she showed me how much money she'd made in that short period of time. And I was very, very intrigued. So then the next thing she did, and follow this along because this is exactly how you do it. The next thing she did was invited me to go to a meeting. And the meeting was across town somewhere. And at that point, I was very directionally challenged, still am a little bit, but I didn't know north, south, east, west, anything like that. I knew go to the Burger King, take a left, go to Wendy's, take a right. That was how my directions. So I drove to wherever this was, and Ruby Lee Mills was the guest speaker. And she had become the very first director in the state of Georgia and was not a national yet. But that year, she was the #1 director at our seminar. So she, for those of you who did not know Ruby, she was very elegant, and she was very quiet and very shy, but she was brilliant. But she was not a flat, like woohoo type person. So her husband at that time, Dick, introduced her. And when he read her accolades, which I had no idea what accolades were, but when he read her accolades, he said that she had earned over $60,000 that year. Well, that was 1970. And I'm thinking, okay, $60,000 selling cosmetics, and every woman uses them. And so I got pretty excited about the fact that, oh my gosh, that was like $1 million to me. Because at that point, even though I was working and Bill was working, we still were not making ends meet. So the thought of having some extra money at the end of the month, or even being able to pay all the bills at the end of the month, was very exciting for me. The other thing that I noticed is that people, they would say, okay, who had so much in sales this week? And people would jump up and everybody would clap for them. Well, of course, I got into the whole thing too. I'm like, I'm clapping for these people. I don't even know them, but gosh, they're doing all this. And then I also thought, wow, they sure do brag a lot, like, hey, I did this, I did that, like, wow, I never did that at the beauty salon to say, hey, guess what? That lady just spent $50. So it just was very, very interesting. So when it came time for Jerry basically to close the sale, the starter kit was $50. And she said, we'll take a check. And so I said, well, I really don't have the $50 extra. And she said, well, that's why you need to do Mary Kay. And I'm like, yeah, well, you've got a point there. So then she said, but then you'd need some products because you couldn't order them on the internet. You couldn't get them like within a few days. Everything had to come from Dallas. And so she told me that it was $250 to get a starter, and I'm like, well, if I don't have $50, I sure don't have $250. So she said, well, doesn't your mother-in-law work at the bank? And I said, yes. And she said, well, the bank has all the money you need. So with fear and trembling, I took Bill and we borrowed $300 from the bank. And that was my start to Mary Kay. And of course, I paid that off and borrowed more and have borrowed more and borrowed more and paid it off. And when it came time to buy our second lake home, which we did sell, by the way, but at that point it was the second one we bought. all I had to do was call the bank, who had never met me before, send them my 1099, and I bought the house. And so, from that $300 I borrowed and paid off, I was able to turn around and buy a house. I've bought more houses since then. Anyway, so it's all relative, of course, to where you start. Well, I wanted to learn how to do this business. When I started, I didn't consider, oh, I'm just going to start it, and if it works out, okay, I was going to pay that money back. And so I wanted to learn how to be good at what I did. So, of course, I viewed other people's skincare parties. I went to the sales meetings. Anything that anybody was doing, I went. And at night, I would read my consultant guide. And then the next morning, when I had John in the high chair having breakfast, I would book him and book him and book him and book him. And Mary Kay said, get in front of the mirror and practice. And so all of these things that Mary Kay said to do, I thought, she's the person who designed this company. She's obviously smarter than me. And so that's what I'm going to do. So as a result of that, we were just taught to do groups. You've never spent time to go and do one person because you didn't have that much to sell. And I can remember going and doing a group and selling an eyebrow pencil. But you know what? I had other appointments booked. And so I think the key to success is always be looking for that next place to go and never quit when you're down. Because, and that's why Mary Kay suggests that you book appointments before you start, because they know that there's going to be one disappointment at least out of those first parties. But it's the sum total of all your effort every week that mounts up. And of course, back then, and I don't know what people do now, but back then you had to have a goal. You had to have a sales goal. You had to have a booking goal. We were told if you didn't have 10 bookings up on your appointment book, you were out of business. And I thought, good grief, I don't ever want to run out of business. And so that was my goal, to always have 10 up on my appointments. Now, were all of those going to hold? No, but that's why you needed at least 10, because even if half of them held, that's 5 more than most people are holding in a month anyway. So I found that I was very not necessarily as much recognition, but more prize oriented. And if my director held up an ink pen and said, everybody that has a $300 week next week gets this pen, I'm like, I've got to have that pen. I mean, that just gave me an incentive, because to think that I could do the work I was supposed to do and then get a prize for it was just icing on the cake. So as everybody heard, in the first 8 years of my Mary Kay business, I had 3 more children. And so I've done Mary Kay with a baby on my hip. I've done one with a baby on my leg. I've done them with the phone in my ear and, bouncing a baby and all these things that a lot of us that have been in Mary Kay for a long time had to do. So, but the bottom line was, there is no other career that I could have had that I could be building a business while being with my children. And so many of my team members came from a basketball game, a football game, a wrestling match, a soccer game, whatever. And I think another key to success is look like a beauty consultant. Don't look like you need a beauty consultant. And so Mary Kay was very, very adamant about our image. And I don't know how many people on here went to seminar and saw some of the outfits at seminar. But I'm telling you, somebody did not have a best friend that would tell them how bad their outfit looked, or how short their skirt was, or how tight their skirt was, or how whatever. So that was always a big thing to me. Was we were told, pretend that Mary Kay is on your doorstep when you walk out the door. And I took that to heart, because opportunities will come when you are ready for them and looking for them. But how many times have you not looked your best and you just ran in somewhere and you ran into somebody that you went to high school with and they look great and you're just wanting to hide? So, image it was very important to Mary Kay, and I think that we should take that to heart. Now, people dress more casual now. I realize that. But I will tell you that this outfit that I'm wearing today, I wore to a funeral last week. And the reason I did is because the husband of the lady, he said, I don't want anybody to come wearing black. He said, I want everybody to come wearing bright colors and all that. So this was one of the bright dresses that I had. Well, I had to run in the grocery store to pick something up before I went to the funeral. And 3 people who I did not know made comments about my outfit, either, the color, the necklace, whatever. And I mean, people notice when you look just a little different from everybody else that's in there in their sweatpants or their pajamas. So it's okay to stand out as long as it's with good taste. So that's a way that you can attract people to you. And that was something Mary Kay said, don't attack people, attract them. And you do that by your countenance, by your smile, by how you treat people. And, if you're driving a car with a Mary Kay sticker on it, I guarantee you somebody that passes you, the first thing you're going to do is turn around and look. That's what I do. I turn around and look to see what they look like. If they've got curlers in their hair or their pajamas on, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'll be calling that person. So I just think we need to go. I think we just need to revisit how we present ourselves and do that, because you also don't, you have to realize you represent every other Mary Kay person that's out there. So that was important to Mary Kay. So that was important to me. Another thing is, as we talked about leaders and generations and all that, we have a generation of people, and some of you may be on this call, who you only know texting and email and, electronics and technology. And maybe you don't feel that comfortable talking face to face with somebody. And maybe you don't feel that comfortable picking up the phone and actually calling. That everything you do is a text because it's not threatening. And it's kind of like, what's the worst thing that can happen? They can just not answer the text. Well, we didn't have that. I use it. I use it with my family. That's how we correspond most of the time. But when there's something that I feel like I need to kind of explain this, I pick up the phone and call. So my suggestion, if I started Mary Kay today, and I think that Dawn would agree with me, if I started Mary Kay today, I would start out using Mary Kay's principles first as my basis, and then I would use the technology as a fill-in. But even if somebody doesn't answer their phone, you can leave them an enthusiastic message. And you'll be surprised. I had people that would call and hang up after listening to my message when I was working. And I would see their number and I would be like, well, why didn't you leave a message? And they would say, well, I really didn't have a message. I just wanted to hear your voice and your enthusiasm. And just because I was feeling kind of down. And so that just reminded me that our voice is important. People hearing your voice. So don't worry if they don't answer. Just leave them an enthusiastic message. And of course, being enthusiastic, that's another thing. Mary Kay was all about being enthusiastic. And the first meeting I went to and they stood up and started singing Mary Kay Enthusiasm, I was so embarrassed for them because I thought, I've never seen this happen before. And then by the next meeting, I was shaking and clapping and jumping with the rest of them, because enthusiasm is contagious. So be excited about our products. I think one of the things that can hinder us right now is we have so many products. We have products for every skincare type in the world. We have every color. It's new stuff. And for the most part, we're working with people who are doing Mary Kay part-time or spare time or accidentally because somebody asked them about it. So I think that we need to pare things down to where you're targeting certain groups, certain age groups. And when you do, there's no need. If I'm talking to teenagers and talking to them about our skincare for teenagers, there's no need in me talking about repair. There's no need in me talking about all these other things. It's zero in on the potential people. Michelle came and did a party at my house about a month ago with 5 ladies from my Sunday school class, which were all repair people. They all needed repair. So at the end of the party, 5 people, $1,500. So I'm thinking, man, when I turn 80, I'm going to sign up again. This is pretty cool to make that kind of money. Plus, they had so much fun. Now, was everything perfect? I mean, Michelle was perfect, but when I started trying to help her, it looked like a bomb had gone off in my kitchen because I had stuff strewn everywhere. But they just had a good time. It was not that serious. You don't have to be so serious. You want to help people look good and feel good, but you also don't want them to feel like you are so professional and perfect that they could never do that. Now, why did Mary Kay say to get people around the kitchen table? Because first of all, it's comfortable for people. Second of all, it gives them an opportunity to interact with each other. Third, it gives them an opportunity to not only see how they look, but to see how 3 or 4 other people look. And then it becomes contagious when one person's like, oh yeah, I want that set. Well, yeah, I want that set too. And you always start, Mary Kay told us, she said, always just hand them a set and say, if there's anything in here you don't want, just take it out. Well, people hate to take stuff out. I mean, a woman does. She's thinking, well, gosh, that's going to leave a hole. You know, why would I want to take that out? So anyway, as Dawn said, I'm really not here to tell you all these things about sales techniques, but that's just part of what we learned in this business. And we took to heart what Mary Kay said, and we didn't say, oh, that's not me. That's not how I speak. That's not what I would say. I looked at it like, okay, I want to know exactly what her words were, and I'm going to keep practicing those until they are my own. So during my career, we moved a couple of times, and well, actually 3 times. Started in the Atlanta area, and started out with family and friends and all that, which was great. But you're never going to earn a Cadillac or become a national sales director based on your friends and family. So once I learned how to talk to people outside of my friends and family, then that's when things started really happening. Well, not too long after Josh was born, the one that was born when I became a sales director, Bill took a job in Chattanooga. And so we moved to Chattanooga, and he traveled, and I was there with the 3 boys. And I didn't know anybody, but then I finally found out that there was somebody I had known that was living there. So I called her, and she had a party for me, and she bought a $2.50 blush rouge. And that was kind of the end of that. So I decided, well, I just have to get up and get dressed every day as if I have to be somewhere and go out and see people. And I'm going to be going to the school. I'm going to be going to the grocery store. I'm going to be going to the post office. I'm going to be going to the bank. I'm going to be doing all those things anyway. So I just need to learn how to give my card to people, get their name and number, and start out with a facial. And then those facials I could turn into a party. And then those parties I turned into team members. Mary Kay also said there's 2 bookings at every group at least. And there's 1 team member at every group at least. And I just started telling people that we were looking for people in this area to give us their opinion on Mary Kay. Had they ever tried it? Blah, blah, blah. And I would go from there. And then once they tried it, I would talk to them about, have you ever thought about having your own home-based business? Love to give you the information. When they'd say, well, I'm not interested, I'd say, well, I don't expect you to be interested because you don't have the facts, but I'm sure you're a smart person. You'd really would like to have the facts before you make a decision. And so then I would go into that. So we went from becoming a unit, having a new baby, moving to Tennessee. We earned our first pink Cadillac in Chattanooga, in Hickson, Tennessee, and we did our first unit club, and we never did less, all the way up to the $900,000 unit club. So while we were there, we developed 5 offspring directors, and then, you know, had our 4th son there. Things were going great, and then Bill took a job in Atlanta. So it was like back to Atlanta, but to Fayette County, which was different from where I had lived. So I just repeated the same thing over, the same formula: get dressed, get up, go out. You know, Zig Ziglar said, if you want to go up, you got to dress up. So I would get up, get dressed, go out, repeat the same thing. 4 kids in 4 different schools. So there was a lot of driving. Kept Mary Kay products in the trunk of my car. I could be in the grocery store, and somebody would come in and look for me when they saw my car out there because they were looking for a Mary Kay person. I've been stopped in the line at Wendy's. I've been stopped. I mean, I have been pulled over on the side of the road, people looking for Mary Kay. And so that brings up another thing about taking care of customers, in that I would say that 90% of the people you get started on our skincare will continue on it if they're taken care of. But for some reason, we seem to be hesitant in following up with people. We get excited about getting a new customer, but we don't always do the follow-up. So Mary Kay taught us follow up, follow up, follow up, and serve people. That if you serve the person, they will stick with you and it will pay off. And when I retired, I had over 300 customers, and some of those people had been with me since the beginning of my career. Some people had been hair customers of mine that I had gotten on Mary Kay before I left the beauty shop, and they stayed with me year after year after year, if they hadn't died by that time, because that was a long time. That was, 40 something years. So if you're going to get a customer, be sure you take care of her. She's never going to be upset with you if you keep her informed about new things, new products. And something else Mary Kay taught us, or somebody taught us along the lines, is every time new products come out, 4 times a year, when they're coming out, have a product recap, or have a new product event where you invite all your customers over. Have a new open house so that they can come and see what's new. Put them on, call them a preferred customer, and let them know they'd be the first ones to know what's going on, and they could invite their friends, and they would be the first ones to get some of these products for free. So think about this. What happened during the pandemic? People came home to work. How many women do you think came home to work and learned how to work from home that thought they never could do that, or never even thought about it? And they found out they liked it. And they found out they had more time with their family, more time with their friends, more personal time. And so the time is right for us to share this opportunity. Mary Kay is what they're looking for, but they just don't know it yet. And so think about, not only could they work from home, but they could pick and choose the hours they want. And by not having to commute every day back and forth to a job, that's that much more time they would have to do the other things that they enjoy doing. So we should be recruiting like crazy because of what happened during COVID. We should use this as a great opportunity, because now a lot of these people are being called back into the office and they don't like it. And some of the younger generation, from what I'm hearing from people that work in an office, is that if they have to go back to the office, they just quit and they look for something else. So that's a great opportunity for us. Let me look at my notes real quick and see what else I was going to cover.
And I have a couple questions from people too.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, continue on, because you make
okay. Okay. All right. Leaders. We need more leaders. We need more leaders with the heart of Mary Kay. We need legacy leaders. We don't need celebrity leaders. And there's a difference. When you're a legacy leader, you believe in the legacy of the company. And when I attended a seminar, and the company did a fabulous job of showing Mary Kay's beginning and own up until the present time. And what was so exciting and heartwarming to me was most of those videos, I was there. Those times that Mary Kay was speaking, I was there. I was in the audience. And it just brought back such great memories of the legacy of this company and of Mary Kay's heart for people. And the fact that she was unashamed of saying our company is based on God, family, and career. In that order, everything works. Out of that order, not much works. And so I just think that if you love what you're doing with Mary Kay, if you plan to keep doing it, then why not move on up into a leadership position? Because with every step you take, you have more influence. Dawn has more influence as a national sales director than she did even as a top director, because the company then wants to have her input. And because of the position she's earned, she has the opportunity to speak to so many more people. Now, maybe you're thinking, well, I don't want to speak to anybody. I don't want to have to stand up and do that. Well, you know what? There's a process of getting there. And by the time you get there and you go through the process, you're ready. You know, when God chose the 12 disciples, they were just a ragtag team, and most of them were really young. And some of them were almost crooks. And he chose them because he knew if they were willing, he would equip them. They weren't equipped already. And so he doesn't always choose you because you're equipped. He chooses you because you're ready and you're willing. And so that's exactly what happened with me. I didn't envision myself speaking to a group of 10,000 people at seminar, but on a gradual basis, God groomed me for that position. And when he had me ready, then that's when I became a national sales director. So don't worry about all that. At the point right now is we need leaders who have the heart of Mary Kay, who believe in this company, who believe in the products, who love people. That's another big thing, because Mary Kay loved people to success. She did not criticize them to success. She loved them and praised them to success. And so that is something that even if you're not good at it now, you can develop that. But we do need more leaders. And my whole thing is move on up. Keep showing people this product and show people this opportunity and see what happens. Don't be afraid to bring somebody else into the business. Now, I think that sometimes when you bring people in the business and they don't do what they say they're going to do, and they don't follow through, you just go, well, nobody wants to do this. But if you just realize that this is not magical, but it is mathematical. And if you show enough people the product, you'll sell product. If you tell enough people about the opportunity, you'll have team members. And so you just keep on keeping on. You don't stop. If I was a telemarketer and I knew that every phone call I made was putting money in my pocket, I wouldn't care how many people hung up. I'd just keep calling. And, picture maybe you've done that before, but picture that people will say, no telling what, and hang up. But in Mary Kay, most people are nice because you're offering them something that most of the time they are interested in. They may just not be interested at the time. So don't give up on sharing the opportunity if you've had someone that came in and quit. Guess what? My director quit. She was my recruiter and she was my director, and she was really my best friend and my next door neighbor. And she quit. Now, here's the kicker. She didn't know she had recruited 2 national sales directors, me and Wading Claxton Prince, and then Ruth Theodosian, who became my offspring. So 3 national sales directors came from her training, but she went in a different direction. Now just think, if because she quit, what if I had quit? Oh my gosh, that would have been a tragedy for me, because being in Mary Kay has been one of the biggest blessings in my life besides my family. And the people that I've met, the trips we've taken. I had a Vox from Cindy Leon, Dawn, and she said, Pam Tull and I were just sitting here looking at pictures from our top director trips. And she said, and you're in just about every one of them. And she said, I was just had you on my mind, and I just wanted to call and see how you're doing and all that stuff. And so, the same with me. I love thinking back on the experiences we've had, the places we've been, but also the people and the love, which is what Mary Kay is all about. I want to share a closing story with you. It's about this couple that they've scrimped and saved and all that because they wanted to take a cruise. And they thought, man, that will just be the biggest thing we've ever done. And so they saved up their money and they paid for the cruise. They went on the cruise all week. They were seeing all the sights and just enjoying the scenery and everything. But every time it came mealtime, they'd go back to their room and they'd eat cheese and crackers and some sandwiches they brought and all that. So as they're getting off the boat at the last day, they heard some of the people talking about the great food. And they said, yeah, it just took all the money we had just to get on this cruise. So we really didn't have the extra money to go down and pay for the meals. And they said, oh, the buffet was free. The buffet came with the price of the cruise. You could have eaten all you wanted, as much as you wanted, as many times as you wanted. And so that I started thinking about our Mary Kay starter kit. And I thought, you know what? Some people buy that starter kit and then they go home and they have their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, their cheese and crackers and all that. But then some of us take that starter kit and we go to the buffet over and over and over. And so in that starter kit, all of these other things are in there. They don't cost you anything, just time and work and consistency. And even if you had a dripping sink over a period of time, if you had a bar of soap there or something, over a period of time, every little tiny drip, if it dripped long enough, it would put a hole in that bar of soap. And so consistency will take you further than anything else that I know of just continue doing the right things over and over and over. And so stop settling and start really doing something with this opportunity. And maybe you'll go to the top too.
I could sit here and listen to you forever, and I would for sure re-sign up. I love that if you retired at 65 in 2014, so next year you turn 75 years old.
Well, actually, November I turned 76. I
Oh,
stayed
wow.
here.
Extra year.
Mhm.
So good. You make my point even better. Look at her. She just got done playing tennis, raced in here, threw on a cute dress. And it's not even just how, I mean, you look beautiful. Your skin is outstanding, but it's your energy and your joy, your vitality. And that is what I always saw in Mary Kay women, is that vitality. And we know whose that is. I mean, that's God inside of you, overflowing. And when you get to live because of your choices by God, family, career, it oozes out of you because you're not living in this, cage, knowing it's not your life. Like, you're living your best life. But I'm grateful for you, Nancy, because in Mary Kay, because I've been in 38 years and you've been in that whole time. And so there's women like you that I get to visit with about being a grandma and doing these family vacations that you love. And you gave me wise counsel. You said, if you pay for it, they'll always come. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. I can do that. I'll work hard for family vacations and they'll always come. But I love that about our culture is that we're not just passing on business, we're passing on godly legacies for women that myself, I didn't see that growing up. So thank you. Any favorite Mary Kay stories? Like, what do you want this group to know about Mary Kay Ash, the person?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, we were very blessed to have Mary Kay on the top director trips with us for a good while, and I mean, she Bill and I sat down one morning to have breakfast, and she came in and she just sits down with us, and we get to have breakfast with Mary Kay on a top director trip. And she just talks to us just like you would talk to your best friend. And we asked her questions about her family, and she just shared things about her family. And then another time in London, Mary Kay was having to leave a day or so earlier than us, and we had the opportunity to sit down and have breakfast again. And there were myself and Bill, and then the rest of the people in there were Mary Kay husbands, because it was kind of early. And on some of the trips, if we didn't have to be anywhere, not all the directors would be up and at the early breakfast. So I happened to be there, and the men lined, as Mary Kay was getting ready to leave, the men lined up to tell Mary Kay goodbye. And each one of them hugged Mary Kay and told her how much this opportunity had meant. I could still get teared up over it because it was just so sweet. How much this opportunity had meant to them as well. We think about what it does for us, but they were like, we've never seen our wife so happy. And they said, Mary Kay, the things that you have taught have spilled over into us and into our families. And they said, we will forever be grateful. And each one of them said pretty much the same thing. And I'll just never forget that memory of Mary Kay standing there. And also, she had on pants. And that was like the big deal to us. We were like, oh my gosh, we've never seen Mary Kay wear pants. But she was getting ready to get on a private plane and head back. And so that was a very touching moment. And then a funny moment was Mary Kay was getting ready to have her knee replacements. And Mary Kay had both of her knees. I've had one knee replacement, and I can't imagine having both of them at the same time, but that's what she chose to do. And so we were in Italy, and she was at the point of where she really needed to have them done, but she had not. And they had a little scooter for her, and she would not ride on that scooter in front of all of us. She just wasn't going to do it. Well, for some reason that day too, we were going out shopping at some little town, and they had cobblestone streets, and Mary Kay had worn some heels, not real high ones, but some heels. So she was kind of having a little bit of trouble walking. So I have two different pictures, one of Judy Kawicki on one side and me on the other. But the funny one was when she began walking with me and Ruth Theodosian, and she was in the middle of us, and we, she had her arms around us. Well, she had taken her sunglasses off, and let's see, how did she do it? She took her sunglasses off, and somehow when she put her arm around me, her sunglasses were just stuck in the side of my ear like this. Somebody took a picture, and we were walking along, and her sunglasses are stuck in my ear, and I'm like, I'm not saying a word. I'm not going to say a word. But it was just so funny. I thought, this is hysterical that Mary Kay's walking along and I have her sunglasses stuck in my ear. So she was just an amazing lady. We didn't worship Mary Kay, but we just admired her and loved her so much because she was so down to earth. And I will say one more story. At seminar one year, I took $101 bills to seminar, and I thought if I could just get Mary Kay even to sign a few of them to promote to different, to my directors. Well, I gave them to Irma, her personal assistant, that afternoon, and I just said, if at some point Mary Kay could sign a few of these, I said, she could send them to me, or I could pick them up later, or whatever, and just put a quick little signature on there. Well, Mary Kay signed them, put a scripture, and had all of them ready for me the next day. And so I'll never forget that. And I still have two of them downstairs in my office that she signed. So anyway, those are some Mary Kay stories about her, the person.
Mm. So what we'll do is I'm gonna have you share with the group, and then I'm gonna stop the recording, and then I'm gonna ask a couple people to share what stood out to you of what you said, because we always wanna pour back into you for pouring into us. But I feel like people who come on live get the little extra, right? And so I'm gonna stop the recording and we'll do that right after. But in closing this recorded part, so Nancy, you heard Mary Kay train a lot. We're heading into our 60th year, and there's a lot at stake for this to continue on for the next 60 years. What do you believe Mary Kay Ash's advice would be to this group of women listening right now?
I would just say, fall in love with what you're doing. If you love, you've heard the saying, if you love what you're doing, you would do it even if you didn't get paid. But if you fall in love with the whole idea of Mary Kay, of sharing with women, sitting down face to face with them, loving on people, complimenting them, making them feel good. Right now, people need to be feeling good about themselves. They need to be feeling good about something. And I think too that people need personal contact. I think if we would just go back to trying to be more personal, more, more face to face. Mary Kay said, when you see a face, book it. Well, that's kind of the attitude that we should have, because there are a lot of lonely people out there. And we can brighten somebody's day by just a kind word, by sharing this product with them, telling them how great they are. Just be who Mary, try to be who Mary Kay was. Light up the room when you enter, not when you leave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good advice. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording.